In the mid-1960s, Australia was gripped by a fever. 5 young men from Villawood migrant hostel were infecting our senses. The Easybeats became Australia's first international rock stars. Over 4 tumultuous years, Easy fever spread around the world. But then, just as suddenly, they split. This is the story of 5 migrants who brought the world to Australia, then took Australian music to the world.
With their Australian farewell, here they are. Snowy!
In 1966, they were kings, ruling the charts in Australia and about to set out to conquer the United Kingdom.
Who are they?
In a few months, the Easybeats would top the charts around the world. Not bad for a couple of Poms, a Scot and 2 Dutchmen who'd only met 2 years earlier. Everyone knows the Easybeats were a rock phenomenon, but the real story began as a migrant fairy tale. The early 60s weren't exactly swinging in Australia. It looked great on the postcards, but for many of the 2 million migrants who rolled in after World War II, the reality was this. A silver city of corrugated iron huts, Villawood migrant hostel, home sweet home for thousands of new Australians.
I came out of the £10 pom. It's the weirdest feeling to land in a country that you emigrate to that you don't know anybody. It's weird.
Gordon Fleet arrived from Liverpool with his wife and child in 1964. His first impressions of the harbour city soon changed as he and his family were whisked away to their new home.
Off we went. The palm trees were getting left behind, all the nice houses were getting left behind, the swimming pools were getting left behind. Now we have the bush. I'd never seen a bush before, not like that. So we finally got to this hostel. It was in the middle of the night, it was pitch black, you couldn't see a hand in front of you. The next day we woke up, we looked outside and I went, my God, where are we?
This is the hostel on the right. But, yeah, this has all changed. Blimey, they got fences all around it, whereas they didn't have before. We met right in the middle of all that lot over there. Blimey, eh? This is on the Parramatta side of the hostel. And all this was little beehives, a beehive of huts. Thousands of them.
When we immigrated to Australia, they put us into Villawood Hostel, and to pass the time, the kids would go to the recreation hall and play table tennis, strum guitars and so on. And that's basically where the Easybeats started.
See, the funny thing was, when you live in a place like Villawood Hostel, there's always a little bit of a ghetto mentality, you know, like you were the hostile hillbillies, right? And everybody surrounding was like, you know... So we really didn't know that many Australian guys at the time, you know, except when we used to meet them in fist fights. But
18-year-old Johannes Vandenberg spoke little English when he immigrated from Holland, but he could play guitar. George Young was a shy 16-year-old when his family arrived from Scotland. Music was the language of the ghetto, and if you could keep up, you could join in.
We didn't worry about the fights and the black eyes and this and the other because music kept us going. We used to hang out in the laundry units, right? Because they had lots of ironing points, and we used to stick our things in and play Buddy Holly and sing, and George Young used to come in there and play his guitar. He was into more the rhythm and blues then, and then slowly Vanda came in, and from then on they just went.
I think when we first started off, I think we were about 57 Easybeats, but it wasn't called the Easybeats yet. It's just a stack of guys from the hostel, the Villawood hostel, that used to get together in the wash house and start banging away on, you know, on pots and pans and guitars and God knows what else.
In the wash house, they were the Starfighters, the name of Harry's old band in Holland. Another teenager who joined the group from Cabramatta Hostel was John Bell.
What I can remember of the very first formations of the Starfighters, which later were named the Easybeats, was the tools that we had were crude. We didn't have recording equipment to see what we sounded like. We had to agree together that that sounded good. I think the reason they had me there was because of the harmony of my voice blending with Harry and George was just exceptional. I mean, it was just, we could imitate anything the Beatles did to a T. It was just a beautiful thing to be in.
John Bell had the voice, but a brash 16-year-old from Leeds with all the front in the world also wanted to be the lead singer.
John Bell sang really well. I thought he was going to outdo me and get the job of sort of singing with the Easybeats. And he did for a while when they sacked me. They sacked me for a week.
I remember it was evening, it was twilight, and they said, we're taking a vote tonight, just straight out of the blue. We're taking a vote tonight as to who's going to stay, you or Stephen. Straight out the blue like that. And I so arrogantly and so childishly thought, they've got to choose me. Stephen sings out of tune. But it wasn't because I disliked Stephen or didn't love him. It was because it was just so obvious. I can tell you about the trip home because I had to carry my heart. It was broken. I already saw what was in George Young. I'd already seen it. I saw the brilliance and where it was going to go.
I consider Stevie one of the best frontmen ever in a band ever, you know? Now, I no offence to Mick Jagger, no offence to Roger Daltrey, but little Stevie, which he was known as, was just, I mean, he had all the charisma in the world, an incredible voice, and on top of that, I mean, the gymnastics and just the way he'd be up on the speakers, then down on the floor, and then he seemed to defy gravity, for God's sake, you know? And that was just amazing. You know, later in interviews, you know, talking to Mick Jagger and talking to Paul McCartney, and even when you talk to Michael from INXS and that, they've all said that how they were just in awe of his performances.
Stevie was compelling. I mean, that cheeky little smile of his, that energy that he had, leaping all over the stage. He was a naughty boy, and the girls loved him for it. He was wonderful.
Stevie as a frontman was phenomenal. At the time, he was quite extraordinary. He still measures up to the best of them, and I think that he influenced many singers in their approach to how they perform and the need to entertain.
Stephen Wright was a little guy. and he had a huge ego. All right? Stevie Wright. He stole a few of my women from in the hostel. I didn't like that. I'm not going to say I punched him in the gob because he stole my Mad magazine, but I will.
Stevie had a habit of being punched. In fact, the story of how he met George Young began with a beating Stevie took from another migrant kid over a girl.
He laid a head nut straight in my mouth like this and knocked me through the air. And I was finished. I laid a few desert birds on me and written the head out, and I just said, I've had enough, you know. And the next day, this young bloke was walking up and he looked a bit like the guy I had to fight with. And I said to him, "G'day." I said, "Your brother knows how to lay a punch." I was being sarcastic. And he says, "What? It's no brother of mine." And they all know how to throw punches, but I'm sure none of them's throwing one at you. And I said, "Aren't you Brian Orr's brother?" He said, No, my name's George Young."
George Young and Stevie Wright became instant friends, and a famous songwriting partnership was formed. They were joined by another Dutchman, bass player Dingeman Vanda, a.k.a. Dick Diamond.
We used to practice in Dick's garage. I think it was very much like young guys nowadays, you know. They just want to be in a band. There was no real purpose except the fact that, hey, man, it's really cool to be in a band. So, you know, that's really all it was.
That's it, hang on.
That one there.
This here. That looks like it, you know, it's just a garage on the side of the house. And it's dark, it looks like it handle a bit of volume. Dickie lived in there with his family, and we... How did you see it, that tree? Ah, yeah, it's a tree, the old oak tree. Round the back there. And we used to really play loud. And luckily enough, we didn't get chucked out too much.
But the band still needed a drummer. Gordon Snowy Fleet would bring more than a backbeat. Back in Liverpool, he played the same clubs as Jerry and the Pacemakers and the Beatles.
After a few weeks of being in the hostel, I got a letter on my door, a little note. You know, "You're from Liverpool, you must play something. I believe you used to play the drums. Please call me, Dick." I met Dick. He took me to his house in Villawood. Went round the back, there was a shed, big shed there, and in the shed was Stephen. He was about 16 or 17, the cheeky little bugger he was. Stephen, there was George, and there was Harry. But my first impressions of, like, we're all basically in the same boat. Harry was an immigrant, he just arrived from Holland, and his accent was worse than mine. He was walking around the garden saying, "I think I'm getting sunstroke." And I said, "Harry, it's sunstroke." "Oh, no, it's too hot for that. I think it's sunstroke."
He sat down and jammed with us, and he played on a backbeat that I'd never heard before that used to really rock me. And I thought, he's great. I was so proud at his drums and the way this backbeat sounded.
At 24, Snowy was the oldest member of the group. That, along with his Merseyside music experience, made him a natural fit as a manager. The first thing he did was give the band a new name.
And I said to George, "How about the Easybeats?" And he said, "Yeah, I like that." He said, "You got Beatles with the word beat, and you got easy with the word beat." So George liked it, and the rest of the guys thought it was a good idea, so we went with it. That's how we became the Easybeats.
Where are you going to take us?
Well, I'll take you to Beetle Village, have a look at that, where we kicked off. And then so we go and have a look at the places that we put the Easybeat thing together.
Well, the really, really early gigs were nothing but auditions, you know. We used to do things like, okay, oh, you guys got a gig. What is it? It's a talent quest. All right. Who's on? Oh. So we did one night, and we came third. The first place was two young girls playing chopsticks on the piano, and the second place was a guy that was juggling. So I'm afraid we went down like a lead balloon, because I think there were only 3 on the bill. So. One thing that did differentiate the Easybeats, I think, from most other bands at the time was that there was a desire to write their own songs. And I think that is what sort of set us apart. So we gave that a crack and started doing that.
But the Easybeats were falling on deaf ears.
We had one hell of a battle to break through, to get in, because in Sydney there was a clique, and we couldn't penetrate that little clique because we were all immigrants. And I'm sure of that, because we looked different. Obviously, we were sounding different.
But then, as Snowy was trying for a gig at the Beetle Village nightclub, they struck some Dutch luck.
I said to the guy, can we get a gig here? He said, sorry, mate, we've got enough bands here. But he heard Harry speaking, and he picked up on a Dutch accent. The guy was from Holland, so him and Harry had a little rap. He said, tell you what I'll do. He said, if you come back here tonight, about 11 o'clock, he said, I'll give you the gig.
This is where it used to be there. 120 Oxford. We lined up on a Saturday night, and the boys used to do a few instrumentals. And they'd do a duet together, and they'd bring me on. And by the time they were onto the duet, the audience had really livened up. They were hitting the dance floor, and these kids were going for it.
And when I used to watch Stevie sort of go into his performance mode, you know, he used to get into that zone where he really sort of came across like, oh, God, this guy's got some balls, you know what I mean? He can really perform. That's when you start to feel confident. You think, hang on a minute, these guys are not bad. I better try a bit harder myself. Yes.
The boys from Villawood had broken through the cultural divide into Sydney's hip nightclub scene. They soon caught the attention of an ambitious young music publisher, Ted Albert.
That's it.
Where?
Up there and up the stairs. Yeah, that's the 2UW Theatre where Easybeats used to rehearse and play their original songs. And one day, Ted Albert was in the audience and decided to sign us all up. 2UW Theatre.
They came from different worlds. Socially, I mean, Ted was from a leading Australian family, a well-to-do. He lived in the eastern suburbs, and he was spending time with these scruffy migrant kids at the bottom of the social ladder. You didn't get much lower than to be this displaced Pom or something, existing in a migrant hostel. But I think when he found the Easybeats and he sat in that theaterette and he heard them play, I think what he just heard was the songs.
When I started to think about the band as a serious entity was when Ted Albert started to record us, you know. And we were coming up with some stuff like 4 Mile Woman, you know, which was, to this very day, I like very much. I think it was what we wanted to be.
We had to fight for it to get it released first, out of the stuff we'd written. And I just loved the gutsiness and the black balls it beat. I didn't realise until years later, and I listened, that I was singing blues and singing blues notes and things in it. I was only a youngster then, I wasn't 16. More than any man can. Got in the lower end of the charts, but it didn't go to #1, and I found out why in a way. We said we need a song that they can dance to, really dance to. And we come up with She's So Fine.
I felt we wanted something really in your face, up and at 'em. So I came up with the riff for that and the chorus, and it seemed to do the job.
When it was first released as a single, on 2UE, you used to have a phone in and request which song that you want playing that night. We all got down the phone box, me with my English accent, for God. How could I disguise my accent? I'd go on the phone, I'd like you to play that song by the Easybeats, She's So Fine. We all done it, me, Stephen, Harry, the whole of us done it. Lo and behold, you started playing it without us phoning in. I couldn't believe it, that there was other people really phoning in to have it played.
Snowy's backbeating on that was just too good, and we made that rock. We all wanted the same thing, and I think that's how it worked. And the kids wanted what we wanted, and they came together.